We took down the play structure this week, the one in our backyard here in the garden, the one our kids grew up on. And after we finished, I just stood there, looking at this open patch of grass where it used to be. And I didn't feel sad, which surprised me. I felt something more like relief. And it started with my wife, actually. She went out early that morning just to pull weeds. No big plan, just her, the garden, hands in the earth. And by mid-morning, our kids had joined her. By afternoon, we were all outside together, filling bags and clearing beds. And something about watching her start, unhurried, no announcement, just made the rest of us want to be part of it. So I went to my art studio. I found dried brushes, sketches from projects that went nowhere, supplies all around from a phase of my life I'd quietly moved through and never quite said goodbye to. And working through it, I felt it again, the same thing. Relief. Not because I needed the space, something else, something that had been sitting there just below the surface, quietly costing me something I didn't even know I was paying. Here's what I keep thinking about. We call this spring cleaning, but we aim it at the wrong things. Yes, the drawer, the inbox, the maybe 11,000 photos on your phone you've been meaning to sort through for 3 years. But what about the story you keep telling about why that one thing didn't work out? The belief that you're just not a creative person. The half-finished plan you come back to every few months. Open the file, stare at it, close it again. The version of yourself you're still waiting to become. Those things don't take up space in a room. They take space up in you. And they are so much harder to name than a box of old brushes. There's actually research on this. Scientists at Princeton found that clutter competes for your attention even when you're not looking at it. It activates your brain, creates this low-grade hum of cognitive load that never fully switches off. And you don't notice it, but it's there. And here's what got me. The act of clearing isn't just practical, it's emotional. When you let something go, even something you never use, you're releasing whatever identity you attach to it. The memory, the person you were when you got it, the person you thought you'd be. The space left behind isn't empty. It's free. So I want you to try something this week. Not just physical clearing, 3 directions. Something physical, a drawer, a shelf, one bag. Something digital, a folder, maybe a follow list, an inbox you've been quietly avoiding since last year. And then the one that actually matters, one thought you're ready to let go of. Not a thing, a thought. Maybe it's, I think I missed my window. Maybe it's, I'm not really the kind of person who. And then whatever you want to fill in that. Maybe it's something you've never said out loud, something you've just been carrying. And there's a psychologist named Matthew Lieberman who found that simply naming an emotional experience, putting actually words to it, measurably reduces its grip on you. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to figure it out. You just have to name it. That's the first move. So I stood at that open patch of grass for a long time, thinking about how strange it is that we hold on to things long after they've stopped serving us. Not because we are weak, but because letting go asks us to admit that something has changed, that we have changed. And sometimes it's harder to face than a cluttered drawer ever could be. The future doesn't only grow from what you add to your life. It grows from what you're finally willing to release. So this week, one thing, one object, one digital space, one thought you've been carrying too long. And complete this sentence. Write it down, say it out loud, send it to someone who needs to hear it. One thing I'm releasing this spring is. You don't have to clear everything. Just one drawer, one thought, one small act of making room, because that's where it starts. Not out there somewhere, from within. I'm Frederik, and this is NEXTletter.